9 seconds left. The clock stops to facilitate the movement of the chains.
One more play.
And let's see what the Miners blue team will do here. McConnell will throw. The clock is running. He takes a shot to the end zone for Kenny Odom, and he's got it! Kenny Odom, as the clock turns to 0. Kenny Odom has ended the UTEP spring game with a touchdown walk-off from Cade McConnell.
Oh, man, what a fun way to end that one.
What a way to end UTEP football spring drills. A walk-off in football as Cade McConnell hits a streaking Kenny Odom on the right side of the end zone on the final play of the 2024 UTEP football spring scrimmage. You couldn't have scripted it any better than that.
So there you go. John Teicher with the call, along with Cole Freitag, Mondo the Monster Medina, in a game you heard right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. I mean, it's ironic that we aired the spring game, it ended like that, and we actually were able to get that particular call from John and Cole. And that's how we get things going here on a Tuesday afternoon with Adrian Broadus on his way to Detroit for the NFL Draft, which he will cover for us coming up tomorrow and Wednesday, along with the Foss, Steve Foster and Chris Fernandez. We've got Alberto Urueta with us as well, and the man who threw that pass you just heard a moment ago, Cade McConnell, our spring intern, is back with us as well for the next 2 hours and 30 minutes. Alberto, appreciate you handling the show all week, and you were there at the game on Saturday. You saw that ending. What was your reaction?
Man, I was really excited seeing it, go down to the end like that. That's really what you want to see, and even better when it culminates in a touchdown like that. I was really excited.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans were. Cade, you tell me, could a spring game have ended any better for you than that?
No, it definitely could not have ended any better. I mean, Teish said it on the air. He said you could not have scripted it any better. If I had to choose a way to end a game, that would have been how it was going to end. So much fun, great route by Kenny, and was able to get him a good ball, and then we got to go dogpile in the end zone, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. And truth is that when you can have a spring game go to the very end like that, and then be decided on a play like that, even though we all know that, from a scoring standpoint, the Blue had scored more than the Orange, but halftime changed it. It made it a little more fun, more competitive, and gave you a chance to go down the field in the final seconds and try to win the game like you did.
No, it did. The second half was really exciting, and it was moving very quickly because we had that running clock in the second half. So maybe there could have been some more things, and there could have been a different plot had the clock been stopping, but we were using that running clock in the second half, and so things were going fast, and it was time to score those last couple of drives. Blue team did great, went down and did exactly that, and it was just a really, really fun experience overall, Steve.
Yeah, I would say the same exact thing. In fact, considering how many fans showed up, and as many fans that were in line for the garage sale, there were a lot that stuck around to want to see the end of that, the end of the play, and that's also pretty exciting. You get 3,000 fans to show up at the Sun Bowl for a spring game. That's a really good crowd for El Paso.
It is a really good crowd, and I'm so happy and thankful to Miner Nation who came out to come support, because everybody that was there knows that they had a great time. It was great weather. It was a great game to watch. There was alumni there. There was different stuff going up on the video board and interviews and the activities at halftime, all those different things. It was just a really fun entertainment piece for the fans that were sitting there. It gave great insight to kind of what our team has been doing and kind of got to showcase a lot of the things to the fans. I would love for everybody listening out there, call in or tweet at us and let us know kind of what you thought about the game. If you have any questions for me, what maybe about a play or something you saw or an opinion, I would love to hear from everybody out there, because it really was such a cool event. I'm so happy for the people that showed up. And I almost can't wait till next year. I know we have the whole season in between, but that's just a fun day because there's not a lot of pressure, Steve. It's a spring game. As much as that's why there's points up at halftime, right? Because it's not end all be all of whether or not the blue team or the orange team wins. But I can promise you this: it was as competitive as ever. And if you really watched that game, you could see that both sides really wanted to win. And despite the fact that there was different scoring at halftime and points, there was a really, really positive vibe, but there was also a lot of competitive competitiveness out there, and it was a great platform for our football team to play on.
But I feel like there was pressure on you. There was pressure on Skylar. There was pressure on everybody because this was your first impression for the coaching staff in front of fans. You've been doing it all month. You've had 14 practices and a couple of scrimmages, but this was different. This had fans there. This had a radio call, as you just had a chance to listen to with John and Cade and Mondo. We treated it like a regular game. So for us, yeah, it was fun, and I think for the players, it was a lot of fun, but it just felt different to me because since it was the first one and a lot of you have never gone through this with this group before, it really was like a dress rehearsal for you.
No, it was. And maybe there was pressure, Steve, but I can promise you this, I didn't feel it. And the reason for that is, like I said, I played in those 6 or 7 games last year, and I can promise you that the pressure of going into every single last one of those is a whole lot higher than the stakes that were, for this spring game. But you have to, as a quarterback, be able to kind of put pressure aside and be able to play your game. And that's a lot easier to do when you're playing in a spring game and it's not against Nebraska or Tennessee or La Tech or anybody else. And so it was an opportunity. Whether or not there's fans in the stands, you have to be able to kind of block that out. And I felt like during that spring game, I was able to go out, be comfortable, be calm in the offense, enjoy the day, and have fun with it. And in turn, that allowed me to play well because I didn't feel like there was, anything that I was forcing or trying to get accomplished. I was just going out there and playing football in that offense.
You threw 3 touchdowns. You led them to a field goal as well in that game. Was it 1 or 2 field goals? I forget how many field goals you had in that
I think it was 1 field goal.
In the first half, because that was the 10 points in the first half, and then you came back and you scored a couple touchdowns in the second half to get the win. What impressed me the most was this, okay? You throw a pick, and it's not just a pick. You throw a pick 6, and it's so interesting to see how will players respond from something like that, because you could immediately go into the tank, and that could be the end, or you come back out and you respond. And I was like thinking to myself, all right, let's see the first series after the pick 6. Let's see how he does. And you lead him down, and you score a touchdown. And even though the game ended the way it did, I thought that drive in particular was big because it showed that you could put the pick 6 behind you and take them right back down again for a score.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the play of the pick 6, the defense was in a great look. Coach Clark dialed up a defense against that play that we had called. We were kind of, damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation. And I tried to make a play happen. Obviously, I didn't, make it happen. It went off and got tipped up, and the next thing you know, it's in the end zone the other way. And you have 2 options at that point, right? Can you forget about it and completely just be like, listen, I'm going to get the ball back in another minute or 2 right now?
Yep.
Or am I going to, sulk and wonder why did that go like that? Why did that ball end up in that DB's hands? And your mind starts going, and then before you know it, you're in the gutter and you're not thinking about the game. I had to turn the page, flush it, move on to the next, and you had to do it fast too, right? There's no TV timeouts during a spring game. There's no media, nothing like that. So you knew that, hey, listen, there wasn't even a kickoff, Steve.
Yep.
So we were just going to, spot the ball and go. So it was like, okay, here we go. And the very next play, Coach Walden looked over to our sideline. He goes, here we go, Kate. I'm giving you one right here. And what he meant by that was, I'm going to make you pass the ball again. So he wasn't gonna give me run plays. He didn't want,
No, he wanted to see how you would respond.
Exactly. And he was going to say, here, I'm going to give you what I would, what I want to give right here, and I want to see what you do with it. And that says a lot to me. I respect when a coach does that because I never want the keys to the car taken away when you're behind center. I believe that any quarterback that's standing behind center should have the full keys to the offense, and you've got to be able to go drive it wherever you want. And I felt like he did that, and we had great plays by the wide receivers, great routes, great protection that whole next drive, and we drove and went bink, 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 bink all the way down the field, and then ended it with a great catch by Jaden Smith in the back corner of the end zone.
By the way, I thought your playmakers came up big for you all game long. I really did. You were playing with, I guess they would say it was the first team offensive line, but then some of the second team receivers and running backs, right? That's how they kind of mix things up. But you can call them first team, second team, whatever. You had good protection for the most part, and your guys just went out there and made plays all game.
100%. And that's kind of how it ended up working out. But that, the draft was a little more complicated than that. So yes, I was with the one offensive line group who played phenomenal. And then the other players were just a mix-in of who President Wilson and who AD Jim Center drafted within. So you kind of got a mix of some different receivers in there.
Yeah.
But those were all guys that we had kind of, had gotten to rep with at least a little bit throughout the spring in a mix. So the groups we were with for skill players-wise weren't exactly the same as what we had been doing during the spring, but they were still people that, I had thrown routes to and done stuff like that. What was really cool was to be able to go see everybody, including myself, but them too, in the spring game in a very game-like situation. There's no early whistles, nothing like that. It was full tackle to the ground for those guys, so they got to kind of show off their playmaking and, yards after catch ability, and those guys made plays, Steve. And I love that because a lot of that, goes back to the relationship that you have with your receivers, right? Is there that trust? Is there that love in order for them to go make plays? And that's what I told them before the game. I said, it's going to be about trust and love today, guys. I'm going to put the ball up for you and allow you to make plays. And time again, you saw Marcus Bellin, Amari White, Jaden Smith, Kenny Odom. They all went out and made a ton of plays on Saturday.
You love throwing that fade into the end zone, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, why would you not want to throw a fade into the end zone, right? I mean, if the fade ball is beautiful in football because if you have one-on-one, it's that guy versus the other.
Yep.
And as long as you have great ball placement, you put your wide receiver at a really, really big advantage.
Go ahead, Alberto. I know you're chomping at the bit for Cade. Go right in.
No, yeah, I was just really thinking about your over-the-shoulder throws. Those are really nice, and they're really hard to defend because when you throw them right, it's pretty much undefendable. But I'll ask you this, Cade: what group of guys or a guy in particular surprised you the most during the spring game?
Yeah, the answer to that, as far as being surprised, is Jaden Smith. And not because I didn't think he was capable of it or didn't know he could do that. We have seen, and we call him Jado, so if I refer to him as Jado, that's Jaden Smith. I was surprised because he had been hurt through part of Phase 2, which was our boot camp, so we didn't get to see him, run a lot. And then moving into spring ball, he was still banged up a little bit. So as he got healthy, we saw how talented he was with his hands and route running and those type of things. But we hadn't got to see it in a game situation where all of his talents were showcased. And so it just so happened. I'm a very big believer in taking your matchups, but I'm also very true to my progression and reads. So a lot of times when I'm going through it, I really am looking for the open guy and not just looking for a favorite receiver. And although I had repped with him a lot over the past couple weeks in practice, he time and time again happened to be that guy on the open read, but made amazing plays that allowed plays to be completions. I mean, we were 4th and 15-ish, I believe, on that last drive to go win the game, and he comes over and makes a jumping, behind his back of his head catch on 4th down to keep the drive alive. The catch in the back of the end zone. I mean, there was time and time again where he ran great routes and made great catches that we could very easily be sitting here, and if he didn't have the game he had, the blue team probably wouldn't have won.
Meanwhile, the quarterback battle between you and Skylar Locklear is far from being over. That was something that Scotty Walden alluded to even before the game. He said, this could go all the way down to fall camp and in the first game of the season before they actually make a decision. So as great an ending as it was and as strong a performance as you had, you're going to go into the summer and realize that it's still very much up for grabs right now to see who will be the starting quarterback come this fall.
It is, and I think that all the quarterbacks in that room, Zach Rodriguez, Seth Mauser, J.P. Pickles, Skylar Locklear, Cade McConnell, the full list has made great plays throughout spring, and I think we've all really elevated ourselves from practice 1 to practice 15, which was the spring game, over the course of learning this offense and getting better in it. And I think that that's awesome. I think that's perfect, and that's what you want. But all you can ask for is a chance, right, when you're in there, and exactly what has been put out to the media and what has been put out to everybody else, and what's been told to me is the exact same, and that's we're going to continue to battle this thing out. You got to keep grinding, and every single day, every rep that you take has to be your best that you could possibly put out there because it's all being evaluated. In the classroom, off the field, in the field, it all matters, and it's going to come down to the wire, and that's what happens when you're in a room full of great quarterbacks, including Skylar.
You've had your exit interview already. Will those be ongoing throughout the week, or is the coaching staff hoping to get all those done here by, let's say, tomorrow?
No, I mean, they're going to be happening over the next couple of days. There's a lot of guys to meet with.
Yep.
And so, obviously, that's what coaches do right now. They evaluate after the spring game, and then they'll start to meet with you. And then the whole goal of those exit meetings is to understand what you need to get better at, what they thought you did well. That way you can have an honest reflection from yourself and from your coaches of what you can, do moving into the summer and into fall camp.
Without divulging about your exit meeting, do you feel like for the most part you were given exactly what you thought you would need to work on to get ready for the upcoming season?
Oh, of course, yes. I think that when you're on the same page with your coach as far as what you are good at and what you need to get better at and just the overall situation, you feel like you're looking through the same lens at the environment and the situation and everything else, that's a very refreshing feeling, because the scary thing is when you get in that room and you have a completely different perspective than the coach and vice versa.
Yeah.
So Coach Walden and I were on the same page with a lot of different things, and so I'm very excited for how I'm going to be able to move through the summer and how the team's going to be able to move into fall camp.
We got so much to talk about on the show today with Cade, who's going to be here for a few hours with us. Also, coming up on the program, Robert Garcia will join us live at 5. You remember Robert, a longtime partner of mine on this radio station, going way back to the mid to late 90s when we first started together. Robert is in Austin. He wants to talk NFL draft. We'll do that coming up at 5 o'clock. Plus, in the 6 o'clock hour, we are going to devote the entire hour to UTEP softball. In fact, it is a UTEP softball takeover. That's right. We are going to have about 10 members of the team and then head coach TJ Hubbard. They're all going to join us on the program inside our 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios. It's going to be a fun one today. As we kick it off, let's go to Charlie Wan and get our first traffic update of the afternoon. Talking to Cade, and it's for us an opportunity to recap the spring game a little bit more with a man that was a part of it. I know he called into Minor Talk after the game, but listen, if you want to be a part of this, we always call this, I think it's Talking Center, right?
Talking Under Center.
Talking Under Center. There you go. With Cade McConnell. So if you would like to be a part of that, 505-6009, that is our telephone number. 505-6009. Another interesting thing for me impression-wise was I really thought, especially in the first half, that the defense was ahead of the offense. It seemed like I was very impressed with how the defense was able to keep up with that offense, which you've been practicing against all year anyway. And maybe that's a big benefit for the Minor defense, because we used to see, as you well know, in the last couple of years, the defense would get gassed when you were having to go up against tempo like this. But because you're practicing against it regularly, it seems like defense was really in terrific shape, form, and making plays.
The defense was great, I think, on both sides. And I think the awesome part about seeing the spring game, and it should be exciting to fans, is that you saw explosive offense at times, and you saw really great defense at times. You saw guys on defense have great ball tracking and get interceptions. You saw the defense have pass breakups. You saw sacks. You saw these things where you see really a lot of signs of aggressive, flashy defense, and that's the kind of defense that we play. You know what I mean? Yep. We're trying to take the ball away as defenders. And so when you see those things, it's really exciting. And then you see the explosiveness on offense, too, which shows you that we have both sides of the ball. This isn't an offense-dominated program, and it's not a defense-dominated program. You want to have both. You want to have great on both sides, and that showed for sure.
I thought that the defense really also did well stopping the run. You have very dynamic running backs, and they, at times, had a very difficult time getting going because of what that defense was able to do.
No doubt. I think our defense played very sound in that game as well, especially with run fits. As you dive deeper into football and, learn the X's and O's, everyone has a run fit. Everyone has a gap, because taking away the run is priority number one in most offenses. You cannot let guys run all over you because you lose the football game. And our defense did a great job of filling gaps and making sure that they were, aligned and sound with their fundamentals and their assignments. And I thought the defense played great. I thought that the leaders on defense, too, stepped up, and there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of guys on the blue team. Trey Dunson is one that, sticks out to me in particular, who was pumping me up the entire game, keeping the energy going right before I'd go back on the field every single time. He was right there, in my face, giving me some energy, some encouragement. Right before the last drive, he told me, hey, go win this thing right here. We had your back. We got you the ball back. Now it's time for you to go win it. And things like that between offense and defense, even if it is half the team in a spring game, that says a lot.
There's no lack of energy with this team, is there?
No, there's not, and that's comes straight from the coaching staff, and that's them making sure they have the right players in the building that are going to provide that energy. But that's 100% Coach Walden and his philosophy on how you attack every day, and there is definitely no lack of energy, and that's from celebrating victories during halftime with the alumni, and that's celebrating touchdowns and game-winning plays. Whatever it is, we're going to make sure to celebrate it and have energy because that's exactly how it permeates through the rest of the team.
505-6009 if you have questions regarding the team from the spring game. Now's the time to get those in with Kate here in studio, 505-6009, our telephone number. Now, you had Coach Walden right there, basically right next to you, and it makes it easier getting plays in because he's right there able to get those in. I'm curious, now that we found out last Friday that NCAA will allow a device in one player on the offensive side, I believe one on the defensive side, like the NFL for this upcoming season. Should we expect UTEP to utilize that? And would the quarterback, you think, in an offense like this where you're playing at such a fast pace, it almost feels like it would behoove the offense to have a communication device like that so coaches could call in plays to you and have you, just like we talked about weeks ago on the show, be able to hear those and then get right up to the line of scrimmage and get the play ready?
It would be awesome. I don't know exactly, what the future looks like for that. I have no idea about, how expensive it is. Is it going to be implemented? Is every team going to have it? I have no idea, Steve. But what I will say is from, where I'm sitting and talking common sense, it would only be beneficial, right? It's going to improve communication and it makes things even faster. So as opposed to looking to a sideline and seeing out a hand signal, you could just have the words right in your ear, and that would allow our offense to go even faster, which is just going to be a problem for defenses.
Here's what it says, okay? The NCAA has officially approved coach-to-play calling. So it's technology that will feature a headset for the coach where a microphone will feed directly into a speaker in one player's helmet. 2 players on the field, the quarterback and a designated defensive player will have the helmet on, and it will be identified with a green dot on the back. So that is what it is. It was approved, and I'm interested to see how this goes because, the NCAA, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. So, giving FBS teams the option of using coach-to-player communications through the helmet, to me, seems almost like a no-brainer. It, again, is going to be an option for every game in the sports top division, which means if you want it, it's available for you.
That's awesome, and I'm so excited. I hope it happens. I know we're seeing right here that it is going to happen. It is going to be available. I just hope that everything goes smooth. It gets implemented because that's really exciting. I remember being so jealous of the NFL when they implemented that over the. How long has the NFL had that, Steve?
Oh my God! It seems like forever.
Yeah, it feels like forever, and you would always get jealous. Now, the NFL has play calls that are sentences long. It feels like, so it's necessary. However, I just remember thinking as a quarterback, man, that is so awesome that you can just have the play said right there and dish it out and feed it out because it just improves communication. And from a fan's perspective, it speeds up pace of play. And number 2, it helps communication. Fans don't want to see broken down football plays. Fans don't want to see miscommunication where, oh no, a receiver ran a wrong route, let's throw it out of bounds and move to the next down. No, they want to see fun, exciting football, and that has to come with polished football, which comes straight from communication.
That's true. Now, I did hear coach-to-player communication will be shut off with 15 seconds left on the play clock or the snap of the ball. Now, the truth is, I really don't think this offense has to worry too much with 15 seconds left on the clock because things get called in so quickly.
100%. And here's the other, sneak peek thing that I guess you hear about in the NFL if you watch, Hard Knocks enough or if you really understand what's going on in those headsets. But coaches who are calling plays and, obviously masterminds of football, see the field, maybe even better sometimes than the quarterback can, especially if they're sitting up in the box.
Yeah.
But when you're calling those plays down to the helmet and it's not cutting off till 15 seconds, there's other added help that the coaches can give quarterbacks, which sounds pretty fun. It happens all across the NFL. It's going to happen in college football. There's going to be a play where, hey, they give you the play call, and then they're like, hey, think about throwing it to the Z on this play.
Sure.
We really like the look. It's probably going to be open. That's awesome, right? I mean, now that can be counterproductive if you're wrong, and now you're looking the wrong way. But those are the type of things that you see in the NFL. I remember watching Jared Goff and Sean McVay do this in Hard Knocks one year, and I remember hearing them, talk. They do it all over the NFL. I've seen it so many times, but this is just an example where he's telling Jared Goff, "Hey, we have this long play call," and he goes, "All right, we're thinking Van Jefferson here on the double move backside. Get your eyes to the front and come back and let's hit this for a touchdown." Boom, he goes out and hits it for a touchdown.
That's
it's
awesome.
like, that sounds pretty fun, having the eye in the sky to help you out with things and make some fun plays.
There's more fun coming in 2024 for college football. We'll tell you what else could be happening with UTEP and everybody else. But first, it is the bottom of the hour. Let's send it back to Alberto. He's got this Sports Center update for us. Alberto, thank you very much as we continue our conversation. Here's another interesting thing. In addition to the helmet communications, you're going to like this too. Also, teams will have the option of using tablets to view in-game video. Up to 18 tablets will be distributed on the sideline, locker room, and coaches' booths to study the game broadcast feed, as well as camera angles from a team's sideline and end zone. The tablets can be viewed by all team personnel, but cannot connect to other devices, project larger images, or provide data and analytics. That's a huge game changer, too.
This is maybe even bigger than the helmet, because the mic in the helmet is one thing, but watching the film and understanding things on the sideline is so big. You see it in the NFL all the time, right? They pull up those Microsoft tablets.
Yep.
You watch them do it. We've seen them do it forever, right? Steve, I used to do that in high school. In high school, we were allowed to do this. In high school, I got an iPad on the side, and there was a live feed of an end zone shot and a sideline shot of live plays as we came in. And then I went to JUCO, and I was like, "Where's the iPads?" And they were all, "We don't get to do that." And I'm all, "What?" And then I went to college at UTEP, and I thought the same thing. And they're all, no, you don't get to do that in college. And I'm sitting here thinking, for the life of me, why do we have that in high school sports, but I can't watch live feed on the sidelines and study what's happening in the game?
That's right.
On the iPad. It was mind-boggling to me. So I'm so happy to do that because, everybody knows when you get to have a different perspective and be able to see the whole field on the screen and really understand what you're seeing throughout the game, it makes a huge difference.
Huge. There's no doubt about that. So I'm excited. I mean, I think that now, again, these are changes that are going to be available. So the question is, will UTEP be able to invest in this technology? Because all the Power Fives are going to have it. You don't know how many of the Group of Fives are going to have it. But if you want to play with the best and compete for championships, you have to find ways to add things into a budget that could make this a reality. You can't talk about this. I can. You're a student athlete. You're only at the mercy of what the university is able to provide. I'm telling you right now, since these are things that are suddenly available, I really hope that Scotty Walden and company is able to convince the powers that be at UTEP that these are musts, these are necessities, and these are things that need to happen.
That I can fully agree with you on that, and I can say this too. Those are not optional, I believe. If they're going to be available to college football, those are a direct advantage to the play of the game. I mean, direct advantage. And so you have to be able to capitalize that, and it's almost a no-brainer. It's a no question. Like, these are type of things that will help you win football games, and if you don't have it and somebody else does, you're at a severe disadvantage.
Now, the interesting thing is, what I'm confused is, it does say teams will have the option of using tablets, but then it says up to 18 tablets will be distributed. So does that mean, I'm assuming that means that schools can use up to 18 and they'll have the option. I just don't know why you wouldn't want that. I mean, look, your opponents are going to have it, so if they're going to have it, why would you want to be at a disadvantage? Why would you not want to have the same advantages they have every single game?
You wouldn't. If this rule, continues to stay rectified as we go into the season, it is a no-brainer. Every team in Division I college football should have 18 tablets on the sideline. There should be a mic in one offensive and one defensive player's helmet, and you have to be able to use that to the best of your ability. I don't care what it takes. I don't care if you have to have a sponsor that's on the sticker on the back of each of those iPads and branded. You better find a way to make it happen, because it is critical to the game.
Absolutely right. And let's look at it this way. even if these tablets cost $1,000 a pop, which they probably don't, it's probably less expensive than that. Even if it's, let's say, $500 or $600, you're still looking at a $9,000 investment. Which, again, think about the cost and what this could generate if you're able to win more games because you have that technology, you have the ability to adjust on the fly, and ultimately $9,000 or $18,000 is going to be a lot more end result if you have a team that wins, draws fans, and goes bowling.
Steve, I don't have very much money, but if for some reason we couldn't get iPads, I'm going to go buy my own iPad and program it to make sure it gets feet on the sidelines. Okay. So if there was $1,000 iPads for sale, I'm buying at least one of them with the little change I got.
I like that. When we come back, big announcement today involving it's going to be an outdoor amphitheater. It's going to be in Northeast El Paso. It's going to blow your socks off, folks. And it's something I talked about years ago on this show. It took them a while, too long, but hey, better late than never. I'll explain when we come back as Sports Talk continues. 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, 15 in front of 5 as we continue. Robert Garcia is going to join us to talk some draft to begin our 5 o'clock hour. That's going to be a lot of fun to reconnect with Robert, one of my all-time favorite people. Pinky got into the show via the mobile app and said, love Cade's comment, is there any video of the UTEP spring game available to view? Now, my answer regarding video is no, Pinky. We were told that the game could be broadcast on radio, but they did not want to stream the game. Quite simply, they don't want to give anybody a sneak peek as to what UTEP's going to run this upcoming season. I know you've got video just because you have to have video. You're on the team, you study it, but I don't believe there's a lot of video from this game that's out there right now, if any.
No, there's not. I saw a news recap at one point of the game that had a couple of highlight videos on it of some of the plays, but you can't, it's not like film to go watch. So Pinky, who probably wants to see a little bit more and rewatch it a little bit, there's none of that. I of course, all the players have the film so that we can study and get better, but obviously that's private access. But as far as video footage, there's a couple things out there that I saw on Twitter that were maybe quick clips and stuff like that, but nothing true film.
Okay. Now, the next question, or the next topic I was going to bring up is regarding this amphitheater that's happening in Northeast El Paso. For anybody that's listened to this radio show, okay, when Cohen Stadium was getting demolished, and they were talking about what to do with Cohen Stadium, I went so far as to beg people to put an amphitheater there. It made sense. You have the land, you have the parking, the location was perfect. An outdoor amphitheater out northeast, to me, was the perfect spot for it. They built a water park instead.
Not even a good one either.
What's that?
Not even a good water park.
I was not happy with Camp Cohen. Yeah, I wasn't. I wanted an amphitheater is what I wanted. And they put the water park there. Okay? Now, fast forward to April 23rd. And we find out that a private corporation is going to be building an amphitheater, outdoor amphitheater in Northeast. 12,500 seats is where it's going to be. And they're also going to assume all the capital risk. It's a big deal, folks. Big deal. $80 million project on a 50-acre lot, and it's going to be integrated into the Cohen Entertainment District Master Plan. So we're talking restaurants, retail, hotels, offices, recreation. And that is big. As far as what's the city going to provide, $30 million in incentives through tax increment reinvestment zone 11, which consists of rebates for property tax and sales taxes for a period of 20 years. They're going to call this the Sunset Amphitheater, okay? And it is supposed to be ready by March of 26. So it's about a 2-year project. And you think about that. I couldn't be happier. I was kind of hoping that this amphitheater could expand to, let's say, 15 to 18,000 for bigger shows. But let me tell you, I'll take 12.5, and here's why, Cade. We have the Sun Bowl that seats about 40, okay? And we see plenty of big concerts out there. And we have smaller venues as well, like the Abraham Chavez, the Plaza Theater. Then you've got the Coliseum. Then you have the Haskins Center. But there is nothing outdoors other than McKelligan Canyon, which is our home for Cool Canyon Nights, that is large enough, which seats about 1,500, McKelligan Canyon. So you got 1,500 and 40,000. There's nothing in between. So an outdoor amphitheater like the Isleta Amphitheater in Albuquerque is what I've been begging for because this city needs it. Now they're going to get it. And they're going to get it from a company that deals in live shows. So that is also great. Notes Live is the company who is going to be doing the project. And I'm going to tell you this, okay? Speculation only. But let's say Notes Live gets this done, and let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Live Nation runs this facility here in El Paso. Okay, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm just putting Live Nation out because they're a huge monster like AEG. They do live shows all over the country.
Right.
Could you imagine some of the acts that will be coming through El Paso now with this outdoor amphitheater if Live Nation's involved once this thing is completed? I mean, I think this is a slam dunk for the city of El Paso and Northeast.
You've been talking about this for a very long time. I mean, I know that since I've been around, not being from El Paso, not being native to here, I have had to kind of bit and piece my way together of this story and this saga of what they were going to do, how the city was going to handle this. And I know that you had been talking about doing something like this for a long time. And so, I think it's a great middle ground, like you're talking about. I think there's going to be a lot of really good things. But if they do partner and this does happen, I think that there's going to be so many cool people that come in here, and it just adds to the allure of El Paso. Yeah. And I think that that's a really big thing. And to be quite honest with you, Steve, since coming here, you come to El Paso, and then a lot of the people from here speak negatively on this. I love El Paso, but a lot of people from here speak negatively on the city and say, oh, there's not a whole lot going on. I want to get out. I want to do this. And there's a lot of negative talk. But when you have, an outdoor amphitheater like this, another venue to go to, another, event or hobby or a place to go have fun,
yep,
the allure of El Paso heightens. And it's just another piece of this city that people can enjoy, and be proud of. So I think it's going to be a really good thing.
Let's say you get an extra 75 to 100 shows that wouldn't normally come here that are now going to stop off here as a result of this amphitheater. All sorts of music has a chance to do that. It absolutely improves the quality of living. I mean, that's the key, right? The ballpark downtown, that was big. Fixing up downtown, that was big. I still believe in investing in downtown, but there was no room downtown for an amphitheater. They still need a soccer stadium. Hopefully that gets done. Maybe we'll see that investment happen down the road. But these are the kind of things that can make a difference. Alberto, this is the kind of facility that as you get older could keep you here instead of wanting to move away like so many people do.
Yeah, this is going to bring in a lot of huge shows that have been skipping El Paso. I think I saw today like a concert tour dropped, right? And I zoomed in and I saw they skipped us. They went to Albuquerque, and I think they go from Albuquerque to Houston. So, yeah, it's disappointing when you see that, especially when you know that the city merits those shows, that the city shouldn't be getting skipped. What I'm wondering now, with this now kind of getting done here, how does this affect the project for the arena? Is it going to catalyst it and get it restarted, and people are going to finish it, or is the money going to die down?
I think that the hybrid of 4,000 outdoor and 4,000 indoor is gone now.
Yeah.
It's useless. It's absolutely useless.
Thankfully, though, because it was not a good idea to begin with.
The only way the arena goes back and happens is if somehow there is more private money that's going to be committed to it, like they're doing with this particular outdoor amphitheater. If somebody wants to step up and throw a couple of $100 million in what they already passed back in 2012 and do it the right way, then I think it's got a chance. Otherwise, I think they'll put it back to a vote and give voters a chance to just scrap it, which could very well be what ends up happening when it's all said and done.
100%. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to, I don't know if there's been any, digital models brought up or any type of speculation as far as what it's going to look like. I'm just really excited to see what it's going to look like too,
yep,
because these different bits and pieces of getting put into El Paso, like I said, is what elevates the city and what takes away that, phrase that I've heard so many people say from El Paso that, there's not a lot to do here. That's not true, right? But the more things that you have like this, the quicker that phrase goes away. I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like, just because I hope it's really nice. I hope it's beautiful. I hope it's something that everyone's attracted to and wants to go to go to a concert or go to, a show or see something like that people are excited to be at.
They're going to be excited. In fact, what I'm going to do right now, which I think you're going to enjoy, is I'm going to send you the renderings of what this thing looks like. And when you see that, what's that way? You're talking while I'm talking. What are you saying? I'm trying to finish a sentence. I'm hearing you in my ears. What are you telling me?
It looks state of the art. It looks like a spaceship.
It's going to be gorgeous. It is going to be absolutely gorgeous, guys. I promise you that. We're not talking about something that's just going to be so. This is a big deal. So anyway, we'll do that in a moment. We'll come back. Robert Garcia will lead off hour number 2 of Sports Talk. Stay with us. We continue right here, 600 ESPN El Paso. Live from the 600 ESPN El Paso River Oaks Properties Schoolyard Sports Studios, it's hour number 2 here on the program. We've got UTEP quarterback Cade McConnell with us. We also have Alberto Urueta. Adrian is on his way to Detroit. He will be joining us with the Foss and Chris Fernandez coming up tomorrow and Thursday. But before we do anything right now, let's say hello to a man who a lot of you that have been listening to this radio show for many years know this time around, when we get close to the NFL draft, it means it's time to say hello to Robert Garcia, former tag team partner of mine who's in Austin and has been in Austin for years. And Robert will have some great draft content coming up on the website tomorrow and Thursday as well. Welcome back, man. How are you?
Not bad at all. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Well, you sound like you're in the toilet. Okay. Where are you?
I'm not in the toilet. I got the phone on my fat chest here. And, last year, I swore last year I thought I was out. I thought I was freaking out. And this damn quarterback class brought me in, and also just my love of watching college football. And it's been a hell of a season, man. I mean, it has been a great season watching these guys play, watching everything go on. We're going to see a bunk this draft. You're going to see so many offensive players go. Probably it's going to break the record that we've seen in the draft. I think that's 20. We'll probably have more than 20 offensive players go. I'd say more than 8 offensive linemen. So that record will be broken. And I said, well, I believe we'll see 6 quarterbacks go in the first round as well.
Man, that's crazy. And by the way, you're never going to be able to leave. You realize that. You might think you're going to break away from this time of year in the NFL and college football, but no, it's going to keep finding a way to rope you back in just like it did this year.
That's because I love watching college football. It's funny how I really don't watch a ton of the NFL at all anymore. I really don't. But I can watch 11 hours of college football every Saturday. I'll watch it Thursdays and Fridays as well. I mean, I just love the game. And it's funny because I actually think the NIL situation has actually made the game better because you have so many people changing places that college coaches actually now have to coach like their NFL counterparts do. You've got to bring people in, you got to mesh them, you got to develop them as quick as possible, get them into your system, and get them to go out there and produce. And I have loved it. These last couple of years have just been stupendous, and this year was a fun year.
All right, let's talk about it then, because you mentioned 6 quarterbacks potentially in the first round. Of those 6, who do you like the most? Give me most to least, and players that you really feel are going to be franchise-changing quarterbacks.
Well, you're not going to want to read the article that I'm sending you because basically this retreat that I had, even though I did a mock draft last year, this retreat I had opened up my eyes and brought me back to the fact that in all reality, we don't know jack because what ends up happening, it's all about the team that drafts them. And if you look at the last couple of drafts and you look, I mean, it's hilarious. I have done so much, like this, what's the word, retro, whatever, like going back and looking at what I said about people. And like, I didn't even have, Mahomes in my top 40, but nobody else did because he played in a joke offense. And an offense that you look at that player and you think, how the hell is he going to translate? But you know what? There's a little guy named Andy Reid who's kind of a freaking genius. And he had been on Mahomes like the year prior. Like, they knew 2 years out that this is the quarterback that they wanted, which is crazy. And so they go out there and they scout the kid, and they understand how to build around him and how to fit them into the system. And so when you say which quarterback's going to succeed, I'll say the one that ends up in Minnesota and the one that ends up in Chicago probably have the best chances. Denver, if they take one, also a real good shot that whatever quarterback ends up there. As far as the other guys, Washington, New England, good luck getting your ass beat, getting knocked out, having no idea what's going on, having no support around you, and see if you can live through that for 2 or 3 years and actually develop into a quarterback instead of just becoming that bust label 3 years in.
So since we're talking retro with you and Robert Garcia joining us to begin hour number 2 of the show, I'll bring up Zach Wilson because he was just traded for basically a bag of balls by the Jets to the Denver Broncos. I mean, what, 6th round pick?
Loved him.
Yeah. So you did love Zach Wilson coming out of BYU.
I love the last 2 quarterbacks the Jets took, Darnold and Wilson. They've got insane talent. Flat-out insane talent. Okay, look at who your OC is. I hate to say it, your OC kind of sucked in Denver. And I'm more of a believer in Aaron Rodgers, although, I don't know, does he think the world is flat? I forgot what his latest controversy is.
Let me tell you something. I don't care about the world is flat. I don't care about his thoughts on on who created the AIDS virus. Look, he can speak all he wants on topics like that. Just win some football games, for crying out loud. That's what you're getting paid for.
Dude, his health is your only hope because their offensive coordinator is junk. And I forget his name, but he's junk. He's junk as a head coach. But it really shows you how well Aaron Rodgers developed. And okay, if we're talking best quarterback, yeah, of course it's Caleb Williams. And I hate calling Caleb Williams because he was verbal to Penn State, and then he left and he went to Georgia, then he went to Oklahoma, then he went to USC. But the kid has insane talent. I mean, I say he's a poor man's Pat Mahomes. His idol was Aaron Rodgers. He does a lot of Aaron Rodgers-like, things out there on the football field. The only question is he had garbage as far as an offensive line goes, had garbage at wide receiver. Remember Addison, we saw how good he was with the Minnesota Vikings this year. And he went out there in every play, 1 second in, you could see he was like, I'm coming up with something. And he played so much off schedule that it's going to be really interesting to see how he fits into an NFL offense because you got to play on schedule in the NFL. And on schedule, which is hilarious, and these new words they come up with. You and I are old enough to remember all the different words. But you wonder how is he going to actually feel sit in a pocket, not trying to bail every 5 seconds, because when you bail in the NFL, guess what? There's a corner who runs a 4-3, there's a linebacker who runs a 4-5, and somebody's going to smack you. And so you've got to be able to get the – and again, and he's also – the good thing is he's going to have an offense around him. And especially if Chicago ends up taking a wide receiver at 9, if they go out there and get a doomsday, the top 3 wide receivers are phenomenal this year. I mean, they're just grotesquely good. So I think Caleb Williams he's the best talent, and he's put in the second best situation to go out there and succeed. So I think it'll be very interesting. Last year when I watched that Georgia game and I watched Stroud go out there and play against Georgia, he opened eyes up for me because up until that point, I thought, here's another, Ohio State quarterback, here's another bust, yada, 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 yada. And then I watched that game, and, our buddy Spedalari, go on a lot with him, and we talked about it. I was like, man, you know what? The dude showed me stuff that I never thought was, basically in his cupboard. And he went out there and really changed my mind. I ended up having him even. He goes out there this year and has the greatest rookie season of any quarterback. And it still baffles me that he was able to do that because it's not like he had stellar wide receivers. The kids developed around him. But it speaks volume of the head coach and everything that they've done out there with the Texans. But I look at Caleb Williams, and I think if he finishes the season with less IATs than TDs, it is a massively successful year.
Robert, Cade McConnell here. I have a quick question for you. I'm a quarterback here at UTEP, and when I go home to California over the breaks and I go home and train at home, I train actually with a lot of these guys that are in the draft class, and they've kind of split off and started doing their more specified NFL training, but I am there with Jaden Daniels. I have been there with Sam Hartman. I have been there with a lot of these guys. Michael Penix Jr. is one of them. And I would love to get your opinion on Michael Penix Jr.
No, you're not. No, you don't.
I would love to hear it.
Okay,
I would love to hear it. I really would.
Okay, so I've been watching Penix since he played at Indiana. Because first off, I watched a ton of Big Ten football. He still did not score that touchdown against Penn State as a freshman. The football was tilted up. And
would you relax off the freshman campaign? Just give us the analysis. Come on.
Okay, so here are my worries with Penix. First off, you had to watch those two games, Texas, and then afterwards you watched the Michigan game. Michigan had as close to an NFL offense as you saw, and what Michigan did is they took away what he does. First off, he throws the prettiest ball out there. What I worry about, though, are the touch throws. And what I worry about is the fact that Michigan said, come out here and beat us underneath and beat us across the field. And he froze. And when he runs a 4.5, 4.6, but he's not really a running quarterback. You look at Bo Nix, you look at those two Oregon games, and Bo Nix is the guy who's getting out of pocket, he's running, and so on. What I worry about Michael Penix is I worry about the waist down. It's like he needs to move. He does a great job. I mean, he throws such a beautiful out pattern. But it's just like he has the best wide receiver in the draft when it comes to 50-50 balls. And it's not even close. Adunze was like a 60% rate when it comes to catching contested passes. The closest guy to him was like 47%. I mean, it's ridiculous how well he played. And I worry about him having a playoff schedule, especially in the NFL, especially if he goes to a bad offensive line. And I want to see what him and Bo Nix, they all play these college offenses. You want to see how it's going to transition into the NFL, because this day and age in the NFL, you're throwing across the middle. You better throw across the middle. You better know how to hit your tight ends, and you better be able to feed the ball there. And that's what I worry about with Penix, is I worry about the touch. I want to see those passes, because if you're throwing it out, you're throwing it 20 yards downfield, you're throwing it 30 yards downfield, man, nobody does a more beautiful ball. I mean, I think NFL Films is going to record the flight of his balls because they're so beautiful. But I really worry about what is he going to do, and can he continue to take the hits? I mean, 2 ACLs on the same knee, the shoulder. I worry about, will he be able to get through all that? Because I saw a totally different quarterback from his Indiana days to his Washington days. And same thing with Bo Nix. So I think he goes first round. I don't think there's a doubt about that. I think he goes first round because just for the fact that when you watch him throw, man, he may have the prettiest ball at all the quarterbacks who are coming out.
Last quick question I'll ask you about him. Where do you rank him among pure passers in the draft? Because, obviously you said you don't like his legs as much as some of the other guys in the draft, but where do you rank him as just a drop-back passer in this draft class?
Oh, come on. 1 or 2? I mean, when it comes to just slinging the ball, as I said, I wasn't joking. NFL Films is going to record that ball in the air because he can sling it. And I always have a hard time with lefties. Tua's got a super quick release, and I still am not used to it. The thing is, I want to see Michael actually use his legs. I want to see him get out of the pocket. I'd like to see a little bit of a wider stance when he passes, because it looks like I almost think of him a lot as just an arm thrower, because the arm is so strong and the ball is so beautiful. I want to see him incorporate his lower body a little bit more in the NFL. The injuries are going to hurt him, and I think he's going to have to go to a team that can protect him. The Raiders are a good selection. I don't know if the Raiders will take him that high, but I think the Raiders have a decent offensive line. I think they fit in fantastically there, especially with the wide receivers over there. But yeah, pure passers go. Come on, I mean, there's not many people. I mean, him and Jaden Daniels. Daniels just throws dimes. Oh, I was in love with Daniels 3 weeks into the football season, and you can call Spetaleri and talk to him, Steve. Daniels is disgusting. Because people say, "Oh, look at the weapons that they have," but sometimes it's even harder to throw to those weapons because these guys are going to be you've got to be precise, and it's so. And I guess that's what baffles me so much. Getting back to Penix is that you see it on the outside, and that's all that Washington did. I wanted to see some more underneath stuff. I wanted to see stuff across the middle, and I'm not saying he can't do it. We just want to see it.
Okay, look. I've gone through one segment. We've talked about like 4 quarterbacks and 1 receiver. So let's come back from the break. I want to talk about the other receivers. I want to get your thoughts on everything in that first round. So stick around, and we'll come back with you here in just a minute, okay?
Gotcha.
All right, Robert Garcia is joining us as we continue. Let's go to Charlie 1 with traffic, and then we'll be back continuing our NFL draft conversation with Robert right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
Crunch time.
You're also the only radio host in the history of this radio station who was ever taken off the air deliberately for criticizing the engineer during a live broadcast.
Yep, and who was also hit by a UTEP coach. And
that's true. Football coach, that's right. You were. Yes. You definitely made a name for yourself in a very short amount of time, and yes, it was rather crazy listening to the old days. I wish we still had those on tape.
God, your dad doing the intros. I actually had it. Okay, real quick. I had a dream about your father the other day. It was so weird. It was just like out of nowhere.
Did you really?
Funny. Yeah, and you were there. We were all like in South Padre, and you and your dad worked at a deli.
Well, it wasn't that off. He had a deli. It was just in El Paso and not in South Padre. So there you go.
But just to hear his voice, like I heard it clearly, it was really cool.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Loved him.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk wide receivers with you. You mentioned Adunze a little while ago from Washington. First off, there's a lot of talented receivers in this first round and throughout the draft. Is Marvin Harrison Jr., in your opinion, the best wide receiver in the draft?
I don't know if I'd say best, but he's just the most developed. He's the most sure prospect going in. I mean, he's a guy that, and I believe Arizona's taking him at 4. You bring him in, and automatically he's against. Unless there's an injury or something, he should be in that Rookie of the Year contention. He's going to be that valve that I'm forgetting the little quarterback's name that they need out there in Arizona. And you look at him, and you think of Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
You think about that guy who can. What I love about him is he's a lot like Justin Jefferson. He can play out, he can play in, he can play the X, the Y. I mean, he can play all over the field and go out there and hurt you. And I think that's where his value comes, is the fact that he can just be such a multi-level threat out there on the offensive side of the ball. The guy that I love, but I worry about, because all these LSU wide receivers have huge chips on their shoulders when they come out of LSU. And Malik Neighbor he reminds me of like Antonio Brown, and sadly a little bit off the field as well, because any time that ball hits his hand, it is like, dude, you better get a hand on him quick because he's taking up the distance. I mean, incredible speed. He's got a lower trunk that's like a running back, so he's really hard to bring down. I love Malik Neighbor. He's my favorite wide receiver. I would say the safest wide receiver to take. Just put him out there, and he's just going to be that guy that goes up there and lights it up, is Marvin Harrison Jr. Mm-hmm. And then, as I mentioned, Adunze is another guy who just brings that dimension where, again, 50-50 balls, you have him running down the sideline, throw it up, he's going to get it. Whether you do back shoulder, whether you throw it up high, I mean, he is going to get it. And these three guys, to me, there's a big gap between them and then jumping down later in the round when you're talking about the kid out of Aiden Mitchell, who I love, out of Texas. Looking at him, and then also Thomas, who was also a great weapon at LSU this year. I just think those three guys, if I had to say three guys who are not going to bust in this draft, I would believe it's going to be those three. Now, if Neighbors ends up with the Giants and they've got, what's his name at quarterback? Jones, I just don't, you kind of feel bad for him going there.
By the way, Kyler Murray is who you were thinking about for the Cardinals.
Kyler Murray, there you go.
You mentioned Mitchell at Texas. What about Xavier Worthy?
See, my whole thing with Xavier Worthy, and again, I got to watch him. I've watched him the last 2 years and got to see, almost every single one of his games. He's got great speed. He'll drop a couple balls here and there. My worry is, okay, I feel like he probably lost weight because he really wanted that 4.21. He wanted that combine record, because I think he played more like in the 170s. But he's just a go-route guy. I mean, he doesn't have a great route tree. I mean, one of the biggest things that you want to see out of these wide receivers coming out is, can they go out there and run a route tree? I mean, do they really understand how to work their routes? Coming in and out of a route and so on. And that's what I worry about with him, because to me, he's a go guy, and he can be a great go guy. I mean, he can be somebody. Yeah, you got Josh Allen, you can throw it 60, 70 yards, no one's going to catch him. I mean, he's faster than anybody else. But I worry, again, the NFL these days, you've got to go across the middle. You're going to have – teams do such a good job of bracketing the outside that you've got to be able to go across the middle. You've got to open things up there. And I don't see him being that type of wide receiver. I think he has a very specific skill set, and I think he can complement a team, and he's definitely going to take it over the top if you want to go out there and make a safety, be back 5 yards, at the time that the ball is going to be high, because he's going to fly.
Let me ask one other player for you, and I'm curious about this since we're talking about pass catchers. Give me your take on Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia.
Man, I love Brock Bowers, and here's another kid who's spurned Penn State. But anyway,
and you're not holding a grudge. That's good. All these years later, I like that.
No, I love him, but the thing is, he's not a blocker. I mean, if you put him on the line and you expect him to block at the end, good luck with that, and good luck to your quarterback. He is going to be used out in the slot a ton. He is going to be a guy, and the thing is, he's fantastic at it. So he's a tight end, but I don't look at him as a tight end. You hope that maybe he beats up to be a little bit over 250, so that way he can block block linebackers coming off the edge and so on. But I just worry about the fact that if you're asking him to block, this kid's got a long way to go to becoming even an effort blocker, because most of these tight ends now, outside of Hawkinson or the big boys, it's like you don't see guys who are really going to be those true effective run blockers, but what you want them to do is just stop guys from getting in when it comes to pass protection. And I worry about Bowers because, especially early on, if he has to line up against a DN, good night.
More with Robert as we hit the bottom of the hour, but let's send it back to Alberto right now. He's standing by with this live SportsCenter update. With Robert Garcia, who is joining us
thank
right
you.
now. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's the love fest. Hey, before we go to defense, offensive lineman that's also pretty top-heavy in the beginning of this draft, is there one particular tackle that you like better than the others?
Right tackle, J.C. Latham. I love him. I love him out of Alabama. I think this guy's just these guys are huge. We've got 6'5", 6'6", 6'8".
Yeah.
And you look at J.C. Latham, and I think this is the guy that, again, you plug in at right tackle, and you just leave him there. And he's going to play, and he's going to do what he's supposed to do. I think he does a great job of mirroring inside moves as far as, anytime he tries to run a stunt against them, things. He's going to help the ground game, and I don't think he's going to hurt you in pass protection. He will. If you put somebody super fast against him, somebody who can really bend and get around him, I think that can maybe hurt him a little bit. But I look at a guy who, to me, I love. On the left side, if you want a pass protector, Olu Fashanu out of Penn State, to me, is the best pass protector out there. Mm-hmm. His run game probably lacks a lot. His run blocking lacks a little bit of desire in the sense that he's not as fierce as a Joe Alt. He's not as fierce as some of the other guys out there. But if you want a pass blocker, to me, he's the best. But the kid that I love the most because he's so damn versatile is, you can tell I watched a ton of Pac-12 games this year, especially since the last year of Pac-12, is Troy Fatnu out of Washington, because he can play tackle. Even though he's not super tall, I think he's like 6'3", almost 6'4". He actually has long enough arms, but he can play guard, and I think he can become a Pro Bowl player really quick at guard. I think he'd be a great selection for the Dallas Cowboys. This is the guy, plug and play, and he gets in there wide. He just moves so damn fluid. If anything, he's probably my favorite offensive lineman just because with what you can do with him.
I know Dallas Turner has a chance to be a top 10 pick, but when you look at defensive players, and there's also the linebacker out of UCLA, Latu, there are not a lot of disruptors, especially on the D-line. No. Maybe more when you get to the bottom of the first round into the second round. It's interesting how this year it's so much more offensive-oriented than defense.
Oh, big time. And I think when you look at the defensive line, there's like three guys at defensive tackle. There's three guys at defensive end, if you want to call Turner an end. I look at Turner, and to me, it's all about what type of system he falls in. And I think Atlanta at 8 runs that type of system where he's also going to be asked to drop back and play a little bit of linebacker, like what they did in Minnesota with Danielle Hunter. But he's a lot more athletic than Danielle Hunter. And I think if you've got that type of offense where you look at defense, you look at him as being that blitzing defensive end coming off the strong side or the weak side, but then you also want to play him back into coverage when you want to sit there, mix things up as far as Your blitz coverage is coming in. I think he's that best player. Jared Verse out of Florida State is a man amongst boys. I mean, he is so damn strong. Two of his best sacks in the Florida game where he just got the opposite tackle and just threw him into the quarterback because he's so damn strong. The problem is refinement. I mean, he's got one move, and that's it. And he goes with strength and he goes with speed. He's going to have to develop something else on there. But to be the best defensive player in the draft, and the guy who I think may be going first, is Byron Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Texas, who tore up Alabama. I mean, he's so quick twitch. And if you look at the NFL, so many, and this is something that happened. I mean, we were talking about this 20 years ago. So many teams, whether it be John Randall, whether it be Aaron Donald, who just retired, you want to be able to disrupt from the inside. And Byron Murphy does a phenomenal job at that. I mean, he is just, and he's strong as hell. He's got a great lower body. Jerzon Newton, also out of Illinois. He's another kid who I like a lot. He tore Penn State up. I mean, these are guys who I think can come in, maybe not the greatest. Well, I mean, actually, Byron Murphy does a great job against the run. Newton, not as strong, but I think Byron Murphy has the best chance of being selected the first defensive player at the top of the draft, and then after him, probably Turner. Because I think Turner's versatility is what puts me. I have him above, the other players out there like Verse. And then obviously Latu, same thing with Michael Penix. It's all about how his health checks out, and especially with necks. We saw what happened to Vander Bosch or whatever with the Dallas Cowboys. You worry about the neck. Is that going to be something that 4 years into his career he's going to have to retire?
Vander Esch, but I like Vander Bosch. That's a better name.
Vander Bosch, Vander Esch.
Yeah, it's all the same. Tomato,
I'm old.
tomato.
I can't remember a damn name to save my life.
That's okay. Nothing's changed in the last 25 years with you. I like that. We're back with Robert Garcia. We'll have his draft coverage on 600ESPNElPaso.com on the site beginning tomorrow, so looking forward to that. Before I wrap it up with you, last question. Your Minnesota Vikings now have a new veteran running back. Give me your thoughts on Aaron Jones signing with him this offseason for a year.
Dude, if he plays like the way he did in the offseason and in postseason, hell yeah. I think the great thing is he fits what Minnesota wants to do. That's why I was so surprised when they got rid of Dalvin Cook, because they want a running back who can truly be that dual threat. And come on, there's no better one out there than Aaron Jones. You just want him to stay healthy, and I think he will. Well, I think he'll be able to, because he's not going to basically carry the load for the Vikings. But that was such an awesome pickup. And typically for the Vikings, every time they pick up a Packer, he does well for them. It just keeps you with tradition.
I love it. All right, that's good stuff. Hey, excellent as always. We'll have your coverage. What exactly will you have for our listeners on the website here in the next couple of days? Give us a little preview.
Well, I'm really breaking down all those top quarterbacks. I'm going to talk about the wide receivers and then just basically, top 40 prospects. Try to put a little snippet on each one of them there, and then also just give my thoughts on how I see that first round playing out. The two biggest slots are 3 and 5. It's all about what New England's going to do, and it's all about what the Chargers are going to do. Because I think if anybody jumps up, obviously Minnesota has all the ammo, but don't be shocked to see the Raiders and even the Broncos try to come up with some crazy package to get them up there.
Excellent. All right, look, great job as always. Always fun having you back on the show. Appreciate the time, and look forward to the next time we get to do this with you.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Steve.
All right, you got it. He's Robert Garcia, and he's joining us here on Sports Talk as we continue. 38 past the hour. When we return, a really interesting story that's involving G5 teams in college football. Specifically, it could even involve the postseason. And could the G5 teams look for their own playoff? We'll have it next. We can get Cade's thoughts on it as well as Sports Talk continues. UTEP softball 20 minutes away. 600 ESPN El Paso. All right, our pal Jim Ward, as we welcome you back to the show. Jim will be one of our main features for Cool Canyon Nights coming next month. Excited about that. I believe Jim will be playing towards the end of June, and you can get more information on Cool Canyon Nights by going online to kisselpaso.com. UTEP softball at the top of our 6 o'clock hour. Really interesting story, Cade, about the Group of 5 playoff being pitched by Derek Dooley. And apparently it's been backed financially by private equity firms. Here's the story. Derek Dooley, who was the former football coach at Tennessee, is pitching a Group of 5 playoff that he says, according to CBSSports.com, would be financially backed by private equity. The concept would address, if not motivated by, the disappointment felt by the Group of Five conferences, talking about the MAC, the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, the American, and Conference USA over revenue distribution shares under the new College Football Playoff Media Rights Agreement. The average program in those conferences are going to receive $1.8 million per year in CFP revenue beginning in 2026 under the new deal, which is up from the current $1.5 million payout. The Group of Five splits 9% of the annual $1.3 billion deal with ESPN. So that is what is happening. And meanwhile, the Big Ten and SEC are going to receive 29% of the CFP money. That's a lot more than what the Group of Fives are going to be getting. So you look at this and you think about what they're talking about with this proposal. Somebody who plays in the Group of Five, do you believe that your own Group of Five playoff would be something that would be better than the current situation, which would be the highest-ranked Group of Five team in the CFP?
I'm so happy we're having this conversation. This is a very difficult question, Steve, and we could probably spend a lot of time talking about this and talking about different scenarios. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm very conflicted to answer your question of whether or not I think this is going to be, or would be a good thing or not, because truthfully, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to college football. I wish that there would have been no realignment when conferences happened. I wish that the Pac-12 was still the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. I wish that the Big Ten, SEC, and every other Power 5 has stayed aligned with how they are. I don't believe in the mega conferences right now. And that's 100% biased in the traditionality of college football, because I believe that that's where the culture of college football comes from, is the lineage and the history that runs through it. However, there are some good things about this deal, too, that I think, we have to understand that change is coming in college football and already is here, whether we want it to happen or not. Conference realignment is happening. There's this shift towards all the power being in the Power 5 conferences, and the Group of Five starting to lose a little bit of that when it comes to the college football playoff. The thing that scares me about this, and we talked about it a little bit off air a second ago, is that this makes the discrepancy between Power 5 and Group of 5 even farther, because it feels like you're playing for something different. Yes, there'll be regular season games where Power 5 schools will play Group of 5 schools in the regular season. However, you feel like you would not be playing for the same thing anymore. There's not that opportunity for the Cinderella story of a Group of 5 school to come in, have a great year, be ranked in the top 12, as we're going to see, and then have a chance to go win the college football playoff and do something that we've never seen before, and have that miraculous playoff win. That gets taken away with this. On the flip side, you have the opportunity now for Group of 5 schools to play for some type of championship, even if it isn't the Power 5 national championship.
Right.
So in that case, it makes it a little bit more meaningful. Another thing that is, makes me a little nervous about this is that I understand it's all about the dollar signs, and essentially this would help out Group of 5 schools. It would give them a larger cut. Schools would be getting, better financial benefits from the viewership of their own playoff. And they talked about having, a cheaper travel budget with having conferences be closer in geographical location. I think that's something as a player I'm against. I really enjoyed going to Florida International last year and going to Florida on the East Coast, or playing at Charlotte, the years prior, and going to the East Coast and playing on these schools, because I had never even been there, Steve. I had never been to Florida. I had never been to these East Coast schools. And I'm not saying that we need to be able to play schools so that I can get my travel experience in as a human being. But what I'm saying is that's part of college football, too, is you get to go play all around the country and experience different places, different schools. And you get that team from Texas that shows up across the country. And then, you have games that you didn't see before. That's also exciting. And it wouldn't feel right if all the teams we played were in, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, and California, in that 2-hour flight span, of right around. That doesn't feel right to me in college football either. I'd love to get your thoughts on some of this, because I know I could keep talking for days about it.
I don't know. I mean, the realignment is interesting, because apparently what they would do is they would take the 62 schools in the Group of 5 and realign them into 8 8-team divisions. So the idea would be of eventually if you had 64 and you could go 8 divisions of 8 each, then you've got your 8 conferences. And then what they would do is they would have their little playoff where all 8 conference winners would play each other, who last team standing goes into the CFP. My problem is that if you had a playoff to determine who gets into that playoff, how many games are you playing in this group of 5? Are you playing a 16 or 18 game schedule? It just seems like it's going to be a ton of games in that regard.
As someone who's been through a season and I've never played in a bowl game, and I've definitely not played in the college football playoff. The end of the season, I mean, guys' bodies are starting to get worn down already as it is, and then you're going and talking about playing top talent, and you start hitting a little harder, and things start getting a little more serious. As you get into those 17, 18 game seasons, the NFL players will tell you so much of their season is predicated on recovery and predicated on taking care of their bodies because that's their full-time job. They're not students anymore. They don't have to go to class. They don't got to worry about anything, and they have millions of dollars to take care of their body the best way that they can.
That's right.
That's going to be really hard for any Division I college football athlete to play that many games in a season.
Think about it. 3 games would be what you would have to play just to get out of the group of 5 playoffs and be the champ. And then your 4th game would be going into the CFP playoffs, which is probably at least another 3 or 4 games. That's 6 or 7 games on top of your regular season that would be potentially played in a playoff.
It's so much. And we talked about it right before we came on air, too. And you said that, if you have equity right now, if the group of 5 has standing in the 12-team college football playoff and is available to have the same status of a Power 5 in the sense of having the opportunity to go win it, why would you not keep that for as long as you could? And then when, worst comes to worst and Power 5s want to separate themselves or have, more of the pod and those types of things, and you start getting railroaded a little bit, then maybe it's time to start looking at something like this. And I think that's what I lean towards, too. And like I said, that's completely biased. I'm afraid of change when it comes to the culture of college football. I'm afraid of, realignment and all these things because the way it's been has been so awesome for so long. I don't want to see it change, but it looks like that's what's happening eventually.
Alberto, give us your take before we end the hour and come back with UTEP softball.
I think that it's a great idea, but I just don't see it being plausible that a group of 5 team can go through its own playoff and then try to play in the CFB. And what I think it should be, if you're a group of 5 team and you find yourself amongst the best 12 teams in the nation, you get into their playoff. If you don't, then you don't get into the CFP. You guys are talking about it, and it doesn't make sense. It's far too many games. It's a strain on a team that's just unfair for them. It would be unfair even to put them in the college football playoff after they've played their own tournament and then still want them to perform at a high level. You're going to have another TCU and you're going to be angry.
Yeah, and what's going to happen then? So say you're one of these 8 schools and you get eliminated. Then do you just go to a bowl game and go play against somebody else? I mean, it's kind of weird.
And then it throws off all bowl games now, right? Because now bowl season doesn't look the same. And honestly, as I was reading the article and as we were talking about it, I wasn't even in my head picturing playing a group of 5 playoff and then going to the college football playoff. In my head, I was thinking, well,
that is your playoff.
That is your playoff. You're not going to the college football playoff. You play for a group of 5, tournament, and you win, and then you're the group of 5 champion of, the country, I guess. And that's where it ends. So that's where that separation comes in, and that's where you think, okay, well, at least you're playing for something. You have a playoff. You have a reward for a group of 5 schools. However, you're completely separating yourself from all the Power 5 schools and the rest of college football. I don't know, Steve. Tell me if you agree with me on this. Growing up, being a college football fan, anybody who likes watching college football, I felt like the beauty of watching all that is that you got to see the Alabamas and the Auburns, and then you also got to see, all the way down the totem pole of smaller schools have great rivalries too. And that was the beauty of you got to see such a big spectrum of college football across the country. I don't want to see any of that be divided and lost.
I'll leave this because we have to go to a break. My biggest fear is this. I feel like a lot of these schools, like Derek Dooley is thinking, you know what, before the top schools make it their own conference and their own place and eliminate everybody else, we want to be proactive so we're not left scrambling figuring what to do. We're going to give you our ideas so that way we're not just left out in the cold when the top schools do separate from everybody else.
It's fair.
All right, we'll come back. Final hour next. UTEP softball in the house. 600 ESPN El Paso. Softball takeover. That's happening right now, the UTEP softball takeover. I'm excited about that. We've got a lot to cover over the next hour or so with UTEP getting ready to host Liberty. This is big, folks. Liberty is in first place in the conference. UTEP right now is in fifth, but they're a game out of fourth. They're 2 games out of third, which means a big weekend against Liberty can do everything for this minor team. And as I mentioned, we're going to have guests all hour, starting with the following. We've got Taja Felder here, Zaylee Calderon, and Jordan Lopez. All right, ladies, welcome aboard. Good to have you here, and thanks so much for starting the hour off with you. How's everybody doing?
Great. I'm doing good. Good. We're glad to be here.
Jordan, you doing okay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Happy to hear it. All right, Taja, since you're first off, you can give us a little lowdown about how things are going for the team. For you, this has been your first and only year at UTEP. You came from Louisville. And by the way, I know it's not Louisville. It's Louisville, right? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah.
As best as I possibly can. It's a lot easier saying UTEP than it is saying Louisville, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about how this year's gone for you. We know what the club's been like. Huge turnaround from last year to this season, and a chance to do a lot more heading into the postseason. Tell me a little bit about your time as a minor.
My time here has been great. Coming in, a lot of people didn't expect much from us, especially from the season last year. But we worked hard during the fall. We saw a lot of improvements. I was proud of this team and just everything that we did in the fall, and we trusted what we've been doing. We work hard every day, and I think that really showed this weekend as we took 2 from La Tech.
Yeah, that was huge, and that probably was the timing could not have been any better. We know how hard you worked. In fact, we saw it in the non-conference. You started doing things early on against opponents that we weren't used to seeing. We suddenly realized that UTEP not only can hang, but UTEP could be one of those teams that could absolutely win the Conference USA tournament when the playoffs start up.
Yes, I definitely. And this conference tournament is coming up here in about 2 weeks, and I believe that anybody can take this tournament. And we just have been working hard, and like I said, we just have to trust what we've been doing and know that what we're capable of. And even though people are still doubting us, and not everyone may not be on our side, but we have each other's back, and we're really excited for the next 2 weeks here.
So you're from Fresno. How come Louisville versus a school maybe closer to California? Did you want to get out of town?
I definitely wanted something new. My parents are still able to come up here a lot, which I really enjoy because being all the way in Kentucky, it was kind of hard for them to be there. But this has just been such a great experience. My parents have been able to come out, my siblings, and I just love it here so far.
Meanwhile, this team, did you have a feeling that when you came here and arrived, this team had a chance to have a pretty special season?
Definitely. Coming here, we wanted to turn things around, bringing in the new coaches. They were just really excited. We brought in our other pitcher, Faith Aragon, who's just been doing a great job. And everyone collectively with our offense and our defense, I just think everything has been on our side recently. So.
Yeah. As far as your pitching goes, give us a little scouting report on your arsenal and what you throw.
I'm more so of a down ball pitcher. I like to get people out with ground balls. I like to mix off speeds in there. And when everything is on, it works really well.
Does your ball move a lot when you release? Because one thing I've learned about fast pitch softball is that ball, it comes at you pretty quick, and you don't really have a lot of time to react, especially if that ball's moving.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that softball has become way more competitive with all these new techniques and different things that pitchers throw. So it's a hard game.
It is. As far as Conference USA, you tell me. You've seen just about everybody. Liberty's coming up this weekend. Is CUSA one of the better leagues in terms of just group of 5 talent, in your opinion?
I definitely believe that we have a lot of talent. There's a lot of great pitchers, great hitters in our league, and it's just about finding ways to compete and be better and beat the other opponent, but really believing in what you have done and not worrying so much about what the other team is wearing, but believing those people around you.
One thing I've also learned is this. You've got a couple of players with you right now that have been here ever since their freshman year. So they know UTEP because they've been here since day one. How important is it now, your transfer, a grad transfer, but to have a core, a nucleus of players that have been in this program for 3, 4, 5 years?
I think that's really special, especially from the previous seasons. They have not been how winning seasons and how they wanted it to be. So a lot of the team has come in with chip on their shoulders, and I believe that's that's just made us better all around this year.
What can you tell me about Zaylee, who's right next to us?
Zaylee, she's such a hard worker, and you'll never know what's going on with her on the mound. But when she's out there, we all believe in her, we all trust in her, and everyone just has her back. She's really for the team.
Explain to me why you never really know what's going on when she's on the mound. Let me hear that one. That's pretty good. Tell me.
She's always so composed, and everyone turns to her like they know that they're going to get the same Zaylee every single day. We love having her out there, and she's one of our leaders on this team.
I like it. So let's say hello right now to Zaylee Calderon, who, by the way, has been terrific all season. Listen to this. She's been in 24 games. She's got an ERA of 1.89, which is really a great year. Zaylee, welcome aboard. Composure. Is that something that you've always been about as a minor?
Yes, I think so. I think in all the 5 years that I've been here, we've had a lot of ups and downs, so I think that definitely has helped build up that persona, I guess you could say.
What's the difference for you this season on the mound? What would you say has really been the biggest change from years past to this season?
Well, for one, all the people that we've brought in. Taj has come, Faith. We have a lot of new defensive players, a lot of new hitters. So basically all of them put together, it's a very different feel. So I'd have to say just them in general.
And when you get a nucleus like that, and you bring in players and you bring in talent, it just makes you better, doesn't it?
It does, because fortunately Taj and Faith have allowed me to go into many games in a good position. So without them, I wouldn't be successful.
Is it fair to say also that, their, I want to say greatness, but really they both had great seasons, it rubs off on you too when you're on the mound?
Of course it does, because it makes you want to be better. It's definitely, we push each other.
You've always had a good non-conference schedule, but when you started winning and beating teams and then hanging with Power 5 schools and beating Power 5 schools, is that when you first realized that this has a chance to be a pretty special season?
Yes, and also there was a culture shift, I would have to say, this year compared to past years. So that definitely has helped.
Tell me about that culture shift.
I would have to say, first and foremost, that everybody here is invested. We kind of go by this motto of win each pitch. And everybody has kind of taken that into consideration every game we've played this year. And overall, everybody's just here to win. I think they've put all the drama aside, and they're just ready to compete.
Now, you say that because, let's be honest, every program has drama. It really does. The key is, will it get the best of the program, or will you be able to shrug it aside? And it sounds like this year you've been able to do the latter. You pushed it aside, and all of a sudden, now the cream gets a chance to rise to the top.
Yes.
Excellent. As far as your career goes, life after softball, have you had a chance to think about it right now or not yet?
Not quite. I still have some classes to finish my master's degree, so I'll graduate in December. But as of now, that's all I have planned. It's just to get my degree.
What's your master's going to be in?
It's Master's in Leadership Studies.
Excellent. Do you want to try to keep playing softball? Do you want to play pro after it's all said and done?
No, I don't really have plans to do that. If anything, I'd like to coach in the future, but no plans to continue playing professionally.
Well, leadership studies, I could see coaching would work out. Do you want to coach college? Do you want to coach high school or kids? What are you thinking?
Probably college or high school, a little bit older.
Okay, good. How good is this softball team, and what do you think they can do?
I think they're probably the best team that I've been a part of since my whole 5 years of being here. And I think we have the capability of doing really well in the conference tournament. Tell me about Jordan. Jordan, she works hard. She always shows up with a smile. I don't think there's ever a day where she shows up to practice in a bad mood. She's always lifting people up. She has great energy, and she just will do whatever is asked. Well, first off, I love the fact that you talk about players' attitudes and you say, you know what, they work hard, they've got a great attitude. That means so much to a clubhouse or a locker room, doesn't it? It does, because it radiates and everybody feeds off of that. All right, let's welcome in Jordan Adams to the program. Jordan, welcome aboard. How are things treating you so far? This is my third year here at UTEP, and I think, like the girls have been saying, this is probably the most special team that I've been a part of in my 3 years, and it says a lot when the base of the team is pretty much the same since the past 3 years, and so to see everybody just grow and to see everybody give it their all and to just compete, it's been a really great thing to be a part of this year. I've always said, though, that pitching makes all the difference in the world in softball, because if you don't have good pitching, it really puts all the pressure on your offense. If you do and you're in games and you can win one-run games, that's just a difference maker. And we saw very early on that this pitching was legit, and it just seemed like it sparked everything else. Yeah, it really did.
we got a new pitching coach this year, and with that and with the new staff that we've gotten, it's brought a new energy to the team. It's not just about the defensive players or the hitters anymore. Like now we can know that our pitchers are gonna do what they need to do in the circle, and it just takes some pressure off the defense, takes some pressure off the hitting, and just lets everybody just play as a whole combined unit and not just like other people trying to pick up slack where things may lack.
Jordan, tell me a little bit about playing at Helen of Troy Field and what it's like with that home field advantage.
Oh my gosh, playing at Helen of Troy is so nice. We always have so much, so many people there from El Paso. I mean, so many athletic teams show up. We always have the soccer team there, the volleyball team there, the football team there, and then just like a lot of teams from the community. Like little girls from ages 6 to age 13, 14, 15 will come up and watch us. So it's so amazing to feel that community and just that. The whole city is behind us and just helps us feel like, we're a part of something bigger than just a softball team here in El Paso.
You're graduating next year. What's your degree going to be in?
I'm a biochemistry degree, actually, so big science girl.
What are we doing with biochemistry when it's all said and done? What are you thinking about?
Applying to dental school. I want to become an orthodontist one day. So
good for you. That's fantastic. I could have used you about 6 months ago when we put braces on our 11-year-old. That's terrific. So
yes, sir.
Orthodontist is going to be fun, but you've got work to do right now, and that's getting through this year, next season as well for you because you're a junior.
Yes, sir.
So you still have plenty of softball left at UTEP.
Yes, sir. So
right.
Excited for the year to come.
Hey, appreciate that, Jordan. Thanks for stopping in and joining us as well.
Thank you.
I call this the UTEP Softball Takeover. We're going to have another 6 players, plus Coach TJ Hubbard's going to be with us as well. Stay with us more in a moment. First, let's go to Charlie 1 and get ourselves this traffic update. Back here on Sports Talk as we continue with the UTEP Softball Takeover. We've got 3 new members of the team here in studio with us. I should say new. I mean, they're new to the show, but they've been on the team for a while now, and Coach TJ Hubbard here with us as well. It's been a long time since I've seen TJ, so I'm excited about that. But before we do anything, let's welcome in Kendall Angulo to the program. She is an infielder for UTEP, a redshirt sophomore as well. And Kendall, first off, I understand you are the inspirational leader of this team.
Yes.
How does that happen? How do you become the inspirational leader? Tell me about it.
Well, I just, on game days and really at practice, I love to have high energy and just encourage girls. I think by bringing that energy to games, it keeps everyone up and making sure that everyone is at the best that they can be and always staying up during the games, and I think it's really helpful.
Have you always been the inspirational leader? Is that something that's kind of been your calling card ever since you first got into the game?
Yeah, it has been. I've always been. When I play, I have to be more energetic to really stay in the game and be at the best that I can be.
Have you always played softball, or have there been other sports as well?
I played softball pretty much my whole life. When I was little, I did gymnastics for a while, but then just really stuck with softball.
When did you have a feeling that this had a chance to take you to the college level?
Really when I hit travel ball was when I got really serious about it. So right around 11, 12 years old was when I really saw that I had a future in this. And my sister had played, so I really looked up to her and followed after her.
I was going to say, that's got to be something special when you have a family of athletes, and your sister also has ties to UTEP, correct?
Yes, she played here last year.
Okay. So for you, was it a no-brainer to try to come and follow in her footsteps?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. We had never got to play together before. Just with the age gap, growing up, we never were on the same team. So it was our first year playing together, and it was one of the best experiences ever.
What's the age gap?
We're 4.5 years apart.
Wow, so you just made it happen.
Yeah, so she had 6 years of eligibility. She had a COVID year, and then she tore her ACL her sophomore year. So it was her 6th year that she took out here.
We've had other UTEP athletes with 6 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
It's great because you get to really know them well, don't you?
Yeah.
I love it. What do you like most about UTEP and about El Paso?
I really like the culture out here. It's a lot different. I'm from Southern California, so coming out here and really just the girls on the team have made it just like a family out here for me. So. And
as far as this team, you tell me, have we seen the best that this softball team can play?
I think we've played pretty good, but I think there's still more that we can do. We are a really, really special group, and I think we are going to do something really special this year. We already have, but the season's not over yet. So,
what makes, in your opinion, this team special? Tell me.
The culture this year. I think the culture among the girls is really good. We are really tight in a family, and also I think bringing in the new coaches this year, and I think everything has just been brought together really well.
What can you tell me about Amaya, who's going to join us next?
Amaya, yes. Amaya is my roommate. She's been my roommate for 2 years. So we kind of have been able to get adjusted here together and living together. So
okay, good.
Really great. Yeah.
So as a roomie, then you probably know her better than anybody, right?
Yes.
Is she is she as fiery as you on game day?
To some level, yeah. I mean, I think the ones who match me the most is probably Jordan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's say hello right now to Amaya as we continue. Kendall, thank you. Amaya, welcome to the show. Good to have you on. And you tell me, do you think Kendall did a pretty good job of describing you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I have my moments where I can really be out of the box and loud, but a lot of the time I'm also kind of more on the calm side. Like, we balance each other out, I think, honestly.
Now, you're also from California.
Yes, I'm from Northern California.
Okay, so we matched Northern California with Southern California. Do they mix pretty well, in your opinion?
I think they're a perfect match.
Okay, well, sometimes you always wonder if the right parts of town, right parts of the state match, but Northern and Southern do fine.
Yeah, we made the whole state, how to bring it to El Paso together.
That's right. What made you decide UTEP?
Honestly, when I came on my visit here, I enjoyed kind of the environment that the city brought. I thought it was bigger than where I was previously, but also wasn't overwhelming. It kind of reminded me of home. Also, it's a lot closer to home than my previous school, so I just thought it would kind of be a good change for me, and I thought me and Coach TJ had a good connection and a good vibe going on, and I trusted him, and I thought it would be a good option for me.
Where'd you play prior to this year?
I was at Marshall University, sorry.
Okay, yeah, we know Marshall, former schooling, Conference USA. We know that well. You tell me, I've heard culture is the biggest reason for the change from this season to last season, and some key additions as well. In your opinion, what has made this such a successful season for UTEP softball?
I think coming in, we had new coaches, new girls, but everyone expected to come in hot and come in to win and to play the season to make it further and to make history on this team. I don't think anyone ever doubted that we were going to have a bad season, like seasons compared to past ones. I think all of us wanted to make a change this year, and we all bought into that and worked really hard to make it happen.
I also feel like it's important because as you're so devoted to making that happen, you can do it. It just goes to show you that you can basically put everything in the past away and just start fresh with a brand new season, which is exactly what happened here.
No, I agree. And, with these two series coming up, there's supposed to be, two of the better teams in our conference, but I honestly think our team thrives under that environment. Like, we come out, we want to play the best of the best, and we thrive under those conditions. So I think we're going to have some good competition this weekend and play well.
Plus, you want to play the number one team in the conference, don't you? Because It makes it that much sweeter when you get a chance to knock them off.
100%.
How far can this team go when you look at UTEP softball?
Oh my gosh, I think we can go as far as we want, as far as we try. I think we have just as much capability as anyone else in our conference to win the tournament and make it to a regional. And I think that's all of our goals. Obviously we want to make it to tournament, but we want to win. So I think we can make it happen.
I think so, too. All right. I'm going to have you put those headphones on for a second. I'm going to tell you why. Because Alberto, who's right across the glass from me and working with us, he does the softball play-by-play. So, and I know he's got questions because he's been listening to me for the last half hour and thinking, man, he's asking everything. All right, Alberto, let me give you a chance to fire some questions out here. What do you have?
I was just going to ask Aaliyah, do you ever get on when you're on first? I know you do a lot of pinch running. Are you itching to steal? I know when I used to get really itchy, like, I want to steal some bases.
I'm not Aaliyah, but
don't you hang on 1 second? Don't you call the play-by-play, Alberto?
I do the color analyst. Yeah.
You do the color analyst. Okay, it's Amaya. Okay, we've got Amaya. It's Amaya Lee that's on right now, not Aaliyah.
Yeah, Amaya Lee. You kind of went on a hot streak there.
You know what? This is not a good idea. Albert, I tried. Redeem yourself, Albert. You got one shot. Go ahead, make it work.
You went in a hot streak, Amaya Lee. What goes into stuff like that?
There you go.
Honestly, when we were playing at FIU, I kind of like just got up in the box. I was like, you know what? Let's just hit the ball. Like I can't go up there thinking too much. I just want to help my team out. So that's what I did. I just saw what I liked and I went for it. And
you were in a groove.
Yeah, I was, and I felt good. I felt fine. I just wanted to help our team out, and it was a big series for us to win. And well, we didn't win the series, but like that last game was really important for us. So I was just happy that I could help my team out.
Tell me about Annika, who's right here. What I can learn about Miss Laterio.
I think Annika is one of the hardest working girls we have on our team. She took a year off, and she came back and she put her head down and worked and came. She came back to our team and just helped us out so much, and she's always like an inspiration to everyone on our team.
Yeah.
She always is positive, always helps everyone out, and has words of wisdom for everyone.
All right, let's meet her right now. Annika Laterio, you have a fascinating story. Welcome aboard. Good to have you here. And like your teammate just mentioned, you took a year off. That is not something we see all the time in college athletics, but it seems like you've come back stronger than ever. Tell me a little bit about taking the time off and what it's been like for you responding.
Yeah, I did take a year off. It was a rough first year, just with the environment and being a Division I athlete. It was a lot mentally and physically, so with me taking a year off, it was definitely a change. I didn't leave the sport. I was coaching down the road at Americas. I coached their fall ball team, and it was just amazing getting to stay in the game and being able to learn the coaching side and being able to come back this year and seeing the coaching side and the playing side. So it's awesome. I love it. I'm glad I'm back.
Would you say almost that helping out then at Americas gave you like that energy to want to get back and come back as a player?
Oh, yes, definitely. Those girls were an inspiration to me. They looked up to me as a person, as an athlete as well. So I was able to give them the mentor and be that person for them, and it was just awesome. How
different are you on the mound this season compared to 2 years ago?
Oh, different. I have a dog mentality. I'm ready to take down whoever, whenever. I don't care how big they are, how small they are. I am going in there ready to win the fight.
Nice. Alberto, you have any questions for Annika Laterio, who is with us right now?
Yeah, there it is. Which game out of the six which you've made appearances, which one do you think you've done the best in?
Good
question. I definitely think FIU has been one of my better appearances. I definitely think that I am working hard and getting more better. I definitely do have to say that the practice has kept me going. I think even from FIU, I've improved a lot, spin-wise, speed-wise, and even mentally.
As far as, Liberty, as you've studied this lineup a little bit going into this weekend series, final home series of the season for UTEP softball, what can you tell us about Liberty and what they bring to the table?
They're a good hitting squad. I do have to admit that. They are. But our pitching staff, our hitting, our defense is a lot better, and we are definitely ready to go in and fight.
Is this the kind of team that when everything clicks...
Oh, definitely.
There is nobody in this conference that's going to be able to beat the Miners.
No, definitely not. We have come so far, and we're not ready to let off the gas.
Terrific. Listen, I got to get Coach in here for a second. Coach TJ Hubbard is here. Coach, I don't know where you want to spot, which microphone you want. So maybe you can take, Annika's. By the way, Annika, great job. Thank you for coming in today, Annika Laterio, as we welcome back TJ Hubbard to the show. Look, we've had 6 student athletes. You got 3 more coming up in a little bit. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming in. And we called this a UTEP softball takeover because I feel like we got half the roster here right now, and we got a lot of reasons for them to be here. Meet them one by one, but also talk about Liberty in this final regular season home series.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great opportunity what these kids have done this particular season. It's been building up year by year, so it's not something that happens overnight. This has been something they've been working on for the last 2 and 3 seasons. So it's great to see them get the recognition from this particular season, but it's not something that just magically happened overnight. There's a lot of pieces that were on the table that we had to get to the right spot. New coaching staff, new pitchers in the circle. So everything together has just come all at one time, in one nice piece for this season to be this as successful as what it has been.
I really also want to give credit to Jim Center and the athletic department, because when you take your lumps like you have since you came on board during the COVID season, sometimes you don't get to see it out. You don't get that opportunity to spend 5 seasons to build it and get the results like this. Coaches ADs want results fast, and if they don't get it, they'll find the next person. So I'm pretty impressed that he hung in there with you and gave you the opportunity to build this team up to where we are right now.
Yeah, and I had talked to them over the last 2 seasons and told them, the other 2 programs that I had taken over, rebuilt, got to a level of win percentage and winning in the conference. It took 2 to 3 years. And then you add in the COVID, that's probably an additional 1 to 2 years. So we're late in terms of my timeline, but I think we're right on given the fact that we had to suffer through the COVID and the COVID restrictions and everything that it did to recruiting.
At the same time, we saw this team come out flying in the preseason, and it looked like one of the best non-conference teams in the country. Conference USA has been a lot more parity than I expected. Is that something that you knew going into the season?
Yeah, and I think you see it across the board. When teams get into conference, you know what to expect. You know the style of play. You've seen those kids for 2 and 3 years prior. Everybody knows there's really no tricks up your sleeve. So you know what to expect. And plus, you're seeing the same team Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's only so much you can do from a surprise tactic method. So yeah, I expected it, and it's a good softball league, and it has been for many years. And with the addition of the teams they brought in, the Liberties, the Jacksonville States, those are quality programs prior to their Conference USA status.
I've heard so many of your players talk about culture change, the coaches you brought in, and how it's just completely transformed this team. Let's touch on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, great coaching staff additions. Brittany Mata, David Montoya. From my standpoint, some of the best in the business, some of the best in the country. They know what to do. They put our kids in challenging, tough practice scenarios that prepare them, for on the field performance-wise. And then culture-wise, I think it's just a collection of these kids finally buying into what we're trying to do in terms of winning and believing in themselves, believing in each other, supporting one another, and doing the right thing at the right time. So I think it's just all culminated at the right time.
You've got the final home series against Liberty this weekend. You're right in the middle of the pack in Conference USA, so a big series. If you take 2 out of 3 or sweep Liberty, that would go a long way for this team going into the postseason.
Absolutely, and I think just like what these kids have commented on, whatever they want to do is what they can accomplish. If they want to go win all 3, win 2 of 3, it's up to them. Because when everything's rolling our way and we're playing the style of softball that we're capable of playing, I don't think there's that many teams in this league that can shut us down for a 3-game series all at once. So,
Coach, I think I have 4 more to interview between now and the end of the show. So I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
We're gonna try to get everybody in. And again, thanks so much for taking time.
Thanks for having all of us.
You got it. TJ Hubbard, head coach of UTEP softball. We'll come back, wrap things up. Final members of the team next. 600 at ESPN El Paso. About that. So we've had UTEP softball in the house all hour long, and we're going to keep it going. Hallie Hogan's with us right now. She's an outfielder. She came this year from Buckeye, Arizona, and here's what she's doing. Second on the team in 4 home runs. She's got 22 RBIs. That's second in the team as well. She's leading the way, and she's a sophomore. Hallie, welcome aboard. Good to have you here. How you doing?
Hi, I'm just happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you. It sounds to me like UTEP is happy to have you, too, because things have really clicked for you since you first arrived. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, when I first got here, I was very nervous coming from a junior college. I thought maybe, it'd be a harder transition, but I think the game is the same through all the levels. And so coming here, I was just really happy to have an accepting culture. I think this team is so positive and so accepting. And so the softball part was easy. It was taken care of. And even when we are down or, things aren't going our way, I think our team just picks each other up so easily.
So this team has a never say die mentality is the best way to put it, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Did you grow up playing softball as a kid? Did you play other sports? Tell us a little bit about it.
I think my mom was always we're going to do something. It's going to be chess team. It's going to be book club. It's going to be sports. We're going to be doing something. So I played other sports, but my mom played softball. She played collegiate softball. And so softball was always something, I wanted to do since my mom wanted to do.
Yeah, you want to follow in her footsteps.
Oh, absolutely.
Where'd your mom play softball at?
She played at Samford in Alabama, SAM.
Okay. Yep, I've heard of Samford very well. So when it came down to choosing UTEP, were there other schools in the mix, or did you know that UTEP was going to be the school for you?
Well, I had 2 ACL tears before coming to UTEP, and that's kind of how I ended up at South. And I did have some options after a successful junior college run, but I think following my coach, Brittany Mata, I just trusted her so much, and she's just such a great coach. There was no question.
We had Brittany on a couple months ago, and man, you could just tell players were so excited about having her on board and what she means to the program. And we could see it this year. I mean, this has been, TJ talked about how he was building for this season, but you tweak the roster a little bit, you make some key additions, and everybody kind of buys in, and this is what happens, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I think Mata brings her own mentality, and, you do need maybe different personalities, especially on the staff, to balance it out. And I think, Mata brings that aggression to the team. Yeah. And then having her just beside us is absolutely just fearless.
What do you enjoy most about being here at UTEP?
Being here at UTEP, other than the food, I would say just the culture. I've never bonded with a group of girls like this. I think we all feel like that. I just trust them so much, and I love them so much.
About the food, let's hear it. What's your favorite go-to meal that you've had since you've been in El Paso?
I can proudly say flautas now.
Oh, there you go.
I used to call them rolled tacos.
They still are. They kind of are. So there's a difference. Some are rolled tacos, some are flautas. They look the same. Some have sauce on them. Some are dry. It's just, but you like them no matter what it is. Rolled tacos or flautas, you're happy.
Yes, it's been a game changer.
Have you been to a Keflauta over there on Sunbull Drive?
Oh, many times. Many times.
So we need to work an NIL with you and Keflauta, and we'll be happy, right?
Please, Keflauta, reach out.
Okay, we'll make sure we talk to them about that. Tell me about the lady seated just to your left, and what can you tell us about her?
Oh, wow. Kenna Collette, let me tell you something. If you want a girl who can hit the ball far, Kenna Collette. Write it down. She's just amazing, good teammate, good behind the plate, very communicative. I don't think I could ask for anything more.
Great introduction for Kenna Collette. Kenna, when you connect on the ball and you really drive one, how far are you hitting that softball?
Hopefully over the fence. So
200 feet.
200 or more, right?
Or more, 200 or more.
Have you ever broken like a car windshield when they've parked over the fence on a ball that maybe left the yard?
I did dent a car once,
but
I didn't break a windshield.
Okay, but you dented a car.
Yes, I dented a car.
Nah, that almost counts, right?
Almost.
That does. How has this season been for you? Because like Hallie and Bree, you're one of the UTEP newcomers. Tell me a little bit about how this has gone for you.
Yeah, it's definitely different than junior college for sure. I wasn't kind of sure what to expect, like Hallie said. But like she said, you come in and softball's the same game no matter where you're at, but the girls here kind of just make it so different. It's having the acceptance from each other and just loving each other and going out there and having so much fun since I've been here. So it's really awesome.
The three of you have been mainstays in the lineup. You're all hitting well. You're all driving in runs and been producing all season. Did it just click for you right at the start of the year, or was there a moment when it really kind of turned on for you?
No, it definitely didn't click. Well, it did at the beginning of the year, and then I actually had a moment where it kind of went downhill. And it kind of clicked again this last weekend, and it was just... Actually, Hallie Hogan, she just told me, man, just hit the ball. Just see it, hit the ball. And so I think that's really the mindset is, having your teammates' backs, and your teammates have your back. And when they have your back, you just go up there and want to have fun and have success.
Were you overthinking it a little bit at times and you just had to simplify things a little bit?
That's actually the exact word she used, is simplify. So for sure, overthinking is a big part of our game. And I think that when you just turn your brain off and go out there and simplify the game, and you can have a lot of success.
Well, Hallie's a smart person.
She's a genius.
I could tell that. Exactly right. Liberty's this weekend. It's a huge series for you. Let's talk a little bit about the first place team in Conference USA and what can happen if the Miners play their best this weekend.
Yeah, I think we can easily, for sure, take 2 of 3. I think that there's no reason we don't, sir. honestly, this team can do anything we put our minds to. If we think we can do it, we go out there, we're going to do it. We've played some really good schools so far this year, and we've beat Texas State, Texas Tech, giving them a run for their money. And I don't think it matters what name is on the front of their jersey. I think this team has a really good chance.
Listen to this, okay? You have a 12-game improvement this season, thanks to Jeff Darby for this little announcement. You are tied for second in the nation in terms of that. That's a huge statement, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Bree's next to you. What can you tell me about Bree Garcia to wrap things up?
Wow, Bree Garcia, Maribel, if you will. We actually call her rated E for everywhere because it doesn't matter where the ball is hit, Bree Garcia is going to field it. I wouldn't rather have nobody else at second base. She's unbelievable, and she's a great teamate, so she's really awesome.
So Alberto's taking credit for what you just said, rated E for everywhere. He says he coined that phrase.
Wow.
So, on broadcast,
that's good. All right. So, yes, he's excited. He said, look, that's mine. That's good. Very nice. Bree, welcome aboard. Well, it's been a lot of fun talking UTEP softball all hour. You're from Americas. Now you're here at UTEP, and you've been knocking the snot out of the ball since you first got here this season. What's it been like for you to be having this kind of a season in your hometown?
Oof. Oh, well, it's always been a dream of mine to play for my hometown and just represent El Paso. So being able to just have fun, play for UTEP, and just in front of my family has been a lot of fun, just especially with this group of girls. Yeah.
Have you always been able to hit, or has this just been one of those seasons where everything's been clicking for you?
Last year,
be honest.
Yeah, no. Last year I actually had a really good season. I was hitting really well, actually, and then I broke a record over there at my last school for home runs
in Arizona.
Yes.
Okay.
So just trying to translate that over to this level, but just staying base hits all around, just getting on as much as possible has been a goal of mine this year. So
biggest difference between JUCO ball and D1 ball here at UTEP, what would you say it is?
Probably the pitching, I would say so, but it's nothing crazy of a difference, but it's, just...
What do you like? Do you like speed? Do you like hitting against speed more, or do you like going up against pitchers that they're shaking their head? I like that. You're getting coached well. Or is the hardest part when the ball moves and dances around?
Yep. Yeah, just making me look dumb is probably the worst part. But I would prefer speed, and just because they provide all of the power for me.
Well, people don't realize it also, and that is you don't have a lot of time to think when you're up there. That ball comes so fast, and you got to just basically make a split decision. What are you going to do? And sometimes just putting the ball into play is the best decision you can make. How good is this softball team?
Oh, we're really good. I think we're always coming up clutch. Everyone, it's not just one person. It's always different people coming up in important moments. Yep.
Final message, and that is, what would you tell the fans out there listening to you right now on the radio in terms of getting them out to support you for this final big home series against Liberty this weekend?
It's senior weekend, by the way, and it's also a really big weekend for us, and we're on a roll right now, so let's just come out and support UTEP softball.
Good answer. All right, Bree, Kenna, Hallie, thank you all for being here, and appreciate the time. And I'm coming out this weekend. I want to see you guys, and I want to see some dubs. Let's get ahead and let's just beat Liberty. What do we say?
Yes, sir.
I don't like Liberty. I want to win. I want to beat that team. Hey, great show. Enjoyed UTEP softball being here in the house. Alberto Urueta, who coined the phrase and is one of the voices of UTEP softball. Thank you as well. Chihuahuas baseball's next. We'll do that at the top of the hour with Tim Haggerty from Tacoma. Have a great night, everybody, and thanks for listening.